In this video, I'm going to show you how to access Stata using the FSU virtual lab. In the past, we've accessed the virtual lab by directing our web browsers to this URL that you see in my address bar. Then when you log in with your FSU ID, you have access to a large number of applications, including the Adobe suite of applications, the Microsoft Office, and a number of statistical packages, including SPSS, SAS, MATLAB, and of course, Stata. The disadvantage to using this approach is that you don't have direct access to the files on your local computer, your desktop or laptop. Instead, if you want to use a data file, for example, in Stata, you'd have to upload the data file to the FSU Virtual Lab drive space, access it from Stata from that location, then make any changes and produce any output that you then download back to your local computer. This causes an extra layer of difficulty and sometimes a bit of confusion because you have a large number of versions of your files, some that were edited and then uploaded and changed and downloaded. So it does create some difficulty. Fortunately, FSU has re-implemented the ability to use the virtual lab through a desktop app. The main advantage of this is that it does allow you to access your files directly that are located on your computer. You do have to install some software, but it's very small and goes quickly. So you just direct your web browser to citrix.com/downloads, as you see me doing. When you get there, you'll see that you can enter a particular product. In this case, it is the Citrix Workspace app. Then choose whether you want to download the app for Windows or Mac or so on. I've used the Windows app and the Linux app and they work exactly the same, so I assume the Mac app will work the same as what I'm about to show you. I'm going to click on the Windows app since I'm working in Windows right now. Here I would just download this file. I've already done it and then I've already executed the file to install the program. You can just use all of the defaults when you do the installation. And eventually you'll come to this screen where it says the installation was successful and do you want to add an account? So we'll click on add account. It then will say that you can enter your work email or a server address that's been provided. Your work email will not work. So what we have to do is go back to the virtual lab, and the server address that we need to use is just this first part of the URL, myfsuvlab.its.fsu.edu. I'm going to copy that and then paste it into this add account box and click add. At that point, very quickly, it will just ask you for your login, which is your FSU ID. So I will enter that. Then it will show me an application that presents initially the apps from the virtual lab that I've already pinned as favorites. If you're doing this for the first time, I'm not sure what you'll see here. Probably a list of all of the applications that are available, but if not, you can click this plus button. Then it will show you the list of all those applications we saw earlier. You'll see that I have Stata, Intercooled Stata 16 already selected. So now I can just click on that Stata icon and it will start the application. Now keep in mind that it's running on FSU's server on FSU's campus, but just displaying the application to your computer, but it will look very much like it does if you had it installed on your computer. The main difference we see here is just that it's licensed to the virtual lab. Now, the last thing I want to show you is, imagine you want to access a Stata data file that's on your local computer. One way to do that is to just select the open button. And initially, it'll highlight this PC. It's in my documents folder, but this is my documents folder on the FSU Virtual Lab. So these are just folders and files that I've accumulated on the Virtual Lab server over the years. If I click this PC, now I see a number of folders in the top half of this window that are Virtual Lab folders. But in the bottom half of the window, I see a number of disks, C, D, E, and F. These are partitions on 2 disk drives that I have on my laptop. And I just happen to know that on disk C is where most of my documents and files are located. If you have multiple partitions or drives, you'll have to experiment a bit to see which one is the one that you need to access. But if I double click on C, now I'm accessing files that are on my actual laptop. So if I want to go to my familiar documents or downloads folder, I can click on users, my username on my laptop. I can go into documents. Now in here in my courses folder for CCJ 5740, I know I have a Stata data file here. If I double click that, it opens almost immediately in Stata, even though Stata is running on the virtual lab and this file is located on my computer. Now, one drawback is if you had very large or moderately large data files, this might not be the way you want to access them, because you would have to, when you open it, it will seamlessly open into Stata, but it is downloading the file or uploading it essentially to the virtual lab. You just saw how quickly that occurred because this is a very small file, but any larger files might take a while. Might be better to upload those to the virtual lab directly. Now, the other thing to show you is, as far as this application on the virtual lab is concerned, this here that I'm highlighting is the full path name to the file that I just opened. So you can see that the path is a little unusual, // client, $C$, that's my C drive, and then users, my account name, documents, and so on. So if I wanted to, for example, open that from within a do file, I could just copy that full path and then open a do file editor. I could, first I'll execute the clear command so that I'm no longer using that file. So now we can see there's no file open anymore. And if I use the use command, I'll use double quotes because I know there are some embedded spaces and punctuation in that path. But this is just that full path again, and then the file name is at the end, CCJ 5740 assignment data.dta. Now I should be able to open that file from the do file that is running on the virtual lab. And indeed, you can see now I have access to all my files. If you want to save a log file to your local computer, you would use the typical log command, but using this long path name and then whatever you give the file name. So that's how you can use Stata on the virtual lab while still having direct access to the files and folders that you have on your local computer.